Welcome to your 2022 first ever Genesis GV70 compact crossover. Little late to the party, but I'm happy they're here because I think this is really going to make a massive impact for Genesis. So I am in the top trim with the 3.5 liter engine. So power figures are 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque, and that's all run through an 8-speed automatic. There's two trims that come with a 3.5 liter engine, and there are 4 trims that come with a 2.5 liter turbo engine, and those power figures are, I believe it's 300 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque. So driving dynamics itself, I touched on the power, I'll just go into it a little bit more. It's smooth, it's effortless, the power delivery system is very linear, there's hardly any turbo lag with the 3.5 liter 6-cylinder engine. It's really well put together as far as city driving and highway driving and backroads driving. Again, I really wish Genesis would have come out with this a couple of years ago, and this does share the same platform as the G70 sedan. Cornering handling, really strong dynamics, especially considering it's a larger vehicle. And yes, I know it's their smallest crossover, but it's still higher off the ground. So you'd think you wouldn't have as good driving dynamics, but the GV70 really performs well, and I'm very impressed just how agile it is. Relatively quiet in the cabin. You put it into Sport Plus, you get a little more noise out of it. Benefit here, if you don't like the noise or if you feel it's a little too much, which I don't think it is at all, you can just crank up your 18-speaker audio system on the higher trims. Lower trims get a 9-speaker audio system, but the Lexicon system sounds absolutely wonderful. Interestingly, this does have launch control. I don't really know how many people are going to use that. I think the majority of people will either live in normal mode, maybe eco on the highway, and sport if they want to just have a bit of a lively drive. I don't think Sport Plus is going to be used very often, but you know, it's there if people want it. Overall, with the driving dynamics, the GV70 scores very high marks for me. And I think a lot of that has to do with the 3.5 liter engine. And again, no shot against the 2.5. I haven't driven it, but there seems to be more than enough power here without it being overkill. So that's why I would go with the 3.5 turbo as opposed to the 2.5 turbo. And yeah, you get 75 extra horsepower and nearly the same increase in torque figures, but I guess it really depends on what you're doing. If you're just kind of toting around the city and you don't really do a lot of longer trips, you're not towing all that much, then yeah, the 2.5 should be fine. Let's do a quick acceleration test. So right now we are in comfort mode. So you notice that tiny little bit of hesitation, which is just the turbo lag, but hardly anything at all. So it did fairly well. A little bit of engine noise was heard through it. I think it would have been picked up by the microphone. So what we'll do now is we'll go from comfort and we'll go all the way to the top and put it in Sport Plus. Okay, fully stopped. RPMs rest a little higher at about 900 as opposed to the 750. So let's take a look and a listen. So a lot more fun to be had, a lot more responsiveness coming out from the GV70 when it's in Sport Plus. Again, I don't think a lot of people are going to use Sport Plus. Sport should be the highest that most people will live in. Yeah, that's my guess. If they're outside of the eco/comfort. Taking a look outside, the front end is very consistent with the rest of the Genesis lineup. You get the big oversized grille, you get the thin lines as your LED day runners, as well as your LED turn signals, and the rest of it is LED lights as well, but a very familiar front end. I like it because it's, for me, not quite overkill. I think Lexus has gone a little too far with their spindle grille, just as far as size goes, and I like that Genesis still has a presence and they have identifiable features, but it's not quite as pronounced as Lexus. Taking a look at the side profile, it looks good. I have no problems with the overall side profile, very conservative design, nothing big and flashy. The rims, that weird pattern on the spokes kind of throws me off a little bit. And yes, it's a design continuum all throughout the inside of the vehicle, whether it's a start-stop button, your gear selector, or your rotary dial, or your scroll wheels on the steering wheel, handles on your vent. I think the rims just should have been left a little cleaner without having that pattern. Personal preference, we'll call it a quirk. I wouldn't turn away a GV70 because of the rims. I don't really see them when I'm driving. Yes, I'll see them when I'm walking to and from the vehicle, but I don't really think they add to the vehicle itself. Taking a look around the rear, one thing that stands out is how clean it looks. The trunk opener is right in the middle. At the bottom of the glass portion, just a little button, there's an image of a vehicle, which is kind of how you know, but if you're driving this for a couple of years, at least on a short lease, you'll get used to it. But taking a look inside, very well done here. There are so many color combinations that Genesis lets you pick, and I like the way this is spec'd. It's this nice navy color. You get a red seatbelt, red piping, some red stitching like you have on the steering wheel, but the rest of the stitching does end up being the same color, which is that nice dark blue. Looks very upscale, very, very clean, and not cluttered at all. Large infotainment system, you've seen it before through other recent Genesis offerings. Not the most responsive, but a half second won't kill you each time you want to do something. I love the rotary dial. As far as the controller goes, it's easy to operate, easy to navigate. Genesis hasn't cluttered up the whole infotainment system by making you do deep dives to do simple things, so it's very strategically and logically laid out. This does have the upgraded 12.3-inch digital dashboard because it is, again, the top trim, so you get the blind view monitor. That's where the Genesis GV70 uses the cameras and the side mirrors to show up as a extra set of eyes for you if you're changing lanes. Really, really nicely done. Very, very high end. The tachometer, similarly to BMW, goes the quote-unquote wrong way. So instead of it going from left to right, it goes from right to left, and that's just a bit of a design element, just to have that a little bit of symmetry. But it doesn't bother me one bit. Heads-up display, really clear, really nice, and plenty of information, big fonts, no issues at all. I'm not the biggest fan of a head-up display, but I'm happy it's there. Especially so well designed. Heated steering wheel, very, very comfortable. Controls on the wheel itself. Again, nice, comfortable. Genesis has made it easy to drive all their vehicles, not just the GV70. And there's a design continuum as well with the kind of sharpened corners. They're still rounded, but you'll see what I mean. Whether it's the HVAC system or the speaker covers or just the ends of the vehicle. Designs on the inside, it's got that nice consistent pattern, and again, minimalistic, upscale, looks incredibly sharp. One irk I have is with where the gear shifter is. Because it's circular and because the rotary controller to control your infotainment system is also circular and they're very close together, not the same size, but a couple of times I wanted to move up a song through my Spotify, and I realized at the last moment I had my hand on the gear shifter or gear changer, and I'm like, uh-oh, that could be a little troublesome if you're not fully used to it. I figured out my workaround for it. I just put my elbow down and just put my hand straight down instead of putting my elbow back, and that would have gotten me touching the gear changer. Wireless charging is in here as well. It looks really sharp because all you do is close up a little cubby cover and it's hidden completely out of sight. No wireless CarPlay, no wireless Android Auto, but it does come with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Other standard features are the large 14.5-inch screen, heated steering wheel, and wireless charging. So regardless of what trim you get out of the 6, there's a pretty strong list of standard features. Here's my favorite part, the long list of standard safety features. Blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, lane departure warning, lane keep assist, lane follow assist. The higher up you go, the more you get. Like with the top trim here, you'll get the blind view monitor, and a couple of other things. Some trims do have the 360 cam as well, but Genesis has done really well in providing a ton of value here. Last thing we're going to touch on is fuel consumption. So in liters per 100 kilometers, we are at 12.9 in the city, 10 even on the highway. Blended total comes out to 11.6. I'll spare you the power to weight ratio aspect, but for a 3.5 liter turbo V6, these fuel consumption figures do very well, and you want to improve on those, pop it in Eco if you want to see them go the other way. Keep it in Sport Plus for all of your driving. But overall, it's a really happily impressive fuel consumption figures from Natural Resources Canada. Seats are incredibly comfortable. This is the quilted Napa leather. Just, it feels so good. I've always liked Genesis's seats. Yeah. I've always liked the seats in a Genesis vehicle. Let's go with that. I've had a couple of passengers up front and they noticed right away how comfortable it was. Rear space, not too bad. I don't think you could put 3 people in for a long drive, but definitely 2. Definitely roomy. It doesn't have that sloped roofline like some of the coupe SUVs do. So lots of function, trunk space respectable. Seats go down fairly easily, so there is a lot of function to be had here, whether it's doing like a massive grocery run, picking up some new furniture, whatever it is. But overall, rear seats pretty comfortable for what they are. I can sit behind myself, and again, I sit all the way up and all the way back. Front seat comfortable, and very little driver fatigue for the week that I've had it. Not a lot of fidgeting at all. Just kind of set my seat, hit the memory seat buttons, and just kind of get in, drive, and that's it. Another reason I picked this, or a higher trim, you do get a panoramic sunroof. Headliner is black, and I just think it would look really closed in and feel really small if you didn't have that sunroof. If you want a GV70, you got 6 trims to pick from, starting at $49,000, maxing out at $75,500. Still a little less expensive than some of the competitors, but this one has everything in for the $75,500. If you want top jam, the 18 speaker audio system, panoramic sunroof, the quilted leather seats, all the safety technology possible, cooled seats, and. That's going to wrap it up for the 2022 Genesis GV70. If you got any questions on the vehicle, let me know in the comments, and I'll do my best to get you answers as soon as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate the support, and feel free to subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to tell somebody about the channel who you think might be interested in what it is that I do. As I come to a full stop, there you go. Until I see you again, be well, be healthy, be safe.